I was like, when are we going to play? And I'm like, when's the last time you've even played? He's like, you have zero chance against me. I'm like, when's the last time you played? He's like, when I scored 60. And I was like, oh. He goes, listen, you come up with 500K, I'll play you. Number, I was like, hey, is this like actually Kobe Bryant? Or is like a random Kobe? So she's like, no, that's him. So I call him. He flies me out to LA. We put the girls through what he calls like Hell Week. So it was hilarious. These girls were like 11, 10 years old at the time. And, you know, Kobe just a maniac when it came to player development because they were all like, I want to play at UConn, or I want to play at Oregon, I want to play at Stanford. And he's like, all right, yeah, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see if you really want it. Yeah. So we put the girls through 3 a-days on the court. Okay, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 2 hours apiece.
3 days.
6 hours on the court, Friday, Saturday, and we ended up Sunday. We just cut it out. Like the girls were so mentally exhausted, they were like breaking down in tears. So like he's like, all right, yeah, that's probably it for the weekend. Yeah. But that was my first experience with it, and after that, you know, I was moving out to LA anyway. So he was like, let's do something consistent. So that it kind of like the relationship just kind of blossomed from there.
That's insane. So he put a group of 11-year-old girls through Hell Week because that's the most Kobe thing I've ever heard in my life.
And also think about it, like, you know, Kobe retired in 2016. This was the end of 2017. So it's like he's fresh off of like being the biggest name in basketball and still arguably at the time.
Yeah.
So for him to be like, hey, this is the plan we're going to put your kid through, what are they going to say? Nah, I don't know, Kobe. I don't know if that's the way to do it, you know?
I got a better idea. Okay.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, I'm not real sure, but who am I to tell Kobe what to do? But what's crazy is that wasn't even like the extent of it. Like they did weight training. They did like some mental prep stuff, like all up at Mamba Cat. Like it was just like they were there from like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Oh my!
Like doing recovery.
My goodness! So like he's nuts. Like he's actually like that. Like he eats, sleeps, breathes everything that. Like
Kobe was never like. He was never very hard. Like he was hard on the girls in games.
Yeah.
But when it came outside of games and practices, like he was extremely patient. Like he was like the way you saw Kobe with the Lakers, he was like the opposite of that with the girls. So like all the girls just adored him.
Really?
Like like the girls couldn't wait to get to practice because he knew that like you can't burn them out. Like they don't think the same way as you do, right. Or as like even a 13-year-old, right. The way you thought wasn't, you know, it's probably not the same. So with Gigi, he was very patient. He was very encouraging. She honestly was a little bit more feisty when it came to like she didn't deal with his shit that much. So like she would snap back at him and he's like, all right, well, relax for a second. Yeah. Like she was fiery, but he was great with all the girls, and he knew that like, you know, there's a time and place to kind of be stern, but his goal wasn't for them to be the best 7th or 8th grade team. It was just like, if these girls want to play at a high level in college, I want to be able to make sure they're taking all the necessary steps to get there. So it wasn't like a short-term race, so he had no reason to really get upset that often.
Yeah, so yeah, it was definitely a long-term thing, and I feel like everything that he did, whether it was on the court or off, was, let's think 5-10 years down the road here. Let's not be this short-minded, it's got to happen today type thing. So these 11-year-old girls, they're not intimidated by the fact that they have arguably the best player in the world as their coach. Like he made them feel as though this was like, hey, this is all us working towards a common goal. Forget that I'm Kobe. I'm just trying to help you. Like, how interactive was he with the girls?
Well, you know what? Like, well, he was there every single practice. Like every single night, they practiced 5 days a week. He was there every time. He was running the full workout in practice. But the girls were so young when he was even like finishing. Like a lot of them, and you know how it is with young kids, like especially young girls, they're probably not following that closely when it comes to that kind of stuff. So like the parents were more so like, this is crazy what's happening. Like our daughters don't realize that arguably one of the best players of all time is taking time out of his day to train and work with my daughter. The girls never really thought of it that way. Like they called him Coach Bryant. So like they didn't, and like I would I was like, am I the only one thinking this is just like the weirdest thing that's happening right now? Like, that's Kobe Bryant. That's not Coach Bryant. So it was weird.
Gigi was fiery. Obviously, she, gets that from somewhere. Most likely Pops, I'm assuming. Where did you see her headed, and what separated her from, just like her father separated himself from everybody else? What made her different?
Well, I mean, her competitive spirit was unlike, honestly, any 13-year-old I've really ever seen, like girls or boys.
Yeah.
Like when she stepped on the court, you were literally looking at Kobe. Like it was just like her focus. She was never like smiling or giggling like that. After the game, she was like unbelievable, bubbly, great. Yeah. But when she stepped on the court, she was that. And from what Kobe told me too, like Vanessa's that way. Like, so she got the mixture of both of them, wrapped up into one. So, but when it came to just strictly skill, like I've never seen a 13-year-old able to make a fadeaway, and I've never seen a 13-year-old, a righty, be able to shoot over their left shoulder, right? Fadeaways going this way are easier because you're already lined up. When you have to fade and turn and jump and have that power, and for her to keep it smooth, she was going to the league, period. And she was probably going to be one of the top players there. Like, I mean, it's hard enough for me to get NBA pros to know how to do that comfortably. Right. But for her as a 13-year-old, before she's really hit puberty, to be able to do all that smoothly and it looked fluid, she kind of had everything. Because I was like, what do you do now? Like, what's your routine? Right. He's like, well, I wake up at 4, I go lift, and I come back, I make the girl.
He still woke up at 4 when it was post-career, post-Lakers, everything.
So I tested it. I had to get up for an early flight. My flight was at like 6. I got up. So I shoot him a text at 4:15. Like I shot him a text, and 2 minutes later, bing, like it goes off, and he responds like we're in a running conversation. So like he was up and so I knew his strength trainer really well because his strength coach came and did stuff with the girls, Brennan. And he's like, yeah, bro, he's insane. Like he wanted, like, he loved the fact that he could finally, like, he could never get like super strong, but like he was finally getting that way after he retired because he was spending so much time on the court and burning so many calories. Like it was hard for him to keep his weight up.
Yeah.
So that's just like, I'm like, this dude's insane.
So the 4 a.m. theory of Kobe Bryant is 100% real.
Yeah, it's true.
And the crazier part even is that's after retirement. That's when he's done everything he can do on a basketball court. And you got not only that, but you sit down at 6 a.m. at Starbucks and have I've watched all the details too, multiple times through, especially Kemba Walker. The one with Kemba is probably my favorite one.
Yeah.
But is he that detailed when it comes to just everything in his life? Is he really everything?
Yeah, he was maniacal with just his process. And even with the way like it's crazy because when, I guess the best way to explain it is he's 100% engaged with whatever he's doing in that moment. And like, even when it came to a conversation, a guy like that who probably has a million things going on and, he's running all these different companies and, like his family was the number one priority for him. Like he never allowed anything to come between like his focus and love for like his family and like that, just everything that was going on around him like that. I think that's something I try to take away more than anything. Like when you're doing something, just be 100% locked in with it, even if it's a conversation with a person that you may never talk to again. Right. Because like I think he understood, especially then, how much of an impact just one conversation of him having with someone would have on their lives. So he was just unbelievable when it came to that stuff.
All right, real quick, Alex. So you talk a lot about Kobe, somebody who is known for being one of the most competitive basketball players in the world, arguably the best player in the world. In my book, he's up there at number 1. That's a different conversation. But so tell me what you thought made Kobe Bryant so different.
I think what made Kobe different was he just empowered so many people. And like just specifically, he's empowered. I watched him empower a group of 11-year-old girls to really like dream and go after a dream. And to be able to see, I think he understood that the greatest gift he could ever give was just an inspiration, right? If you can inspire someone to try to achieve their own greatness, which is what the Mamba mentality stood for, that was everything to him. Right. And the fact that he was willing to go out of his way to empower me in my, personal business, or empower WNBA athletes, or empower the next generation of NBA athletes. But just to see that up close on a weekly basis with just the girls that, they're not in the spotlight, right? There's not going to be stories that come of Kobe, look what Kobe's doing for this person, the way he can do in the WNBA or the NBA, because those are always great stories. But he did it so selflessly that I think he showed everyone who was in that circle how to be just a better person, right? It doesn't matter who you are or how much fame you have. At the end of the day, it just comes down to how can I help this person get to where they want to go? Yeah. And then my life will fall in line accordingly, because I'm a big believer in karma, and everything comes back around, and just the way Kobe did things. And he never asked for anything in return from anyone. He would just go out of his way, and it would never come of, hey, Kobe, can you do this? You didn't never have to ask. He would already do it. So I think that's the biggest thing that I'll always appreciate and remember, that what he stood for.
Yo, boys, Aki, I've been trying to tell you. You trying to get Aki like me? I only wear overtime drip, that's why. That's why I'm Aki. And get Aki like me. Go click the link in the bio right now. You better cop out. Cop 5 shirts, because you need them all week. And check out these videos right here and subscribe. Stop playing with me.